Okay, so my name is Andrea, and I need to tell you about something that happened last year. Something that changed me, changed my best friend Maya, changed how I see justice and power and what you do when the system fails someone you love. Before we get into it, and trust me, we're going deep today, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. Because this story, you're not going to want to miss a single part of it. This is about what happens when you love someone who's being destroyed, and when the people who are supposed to protect her just don't. It's about a man named Ravi who thought he was untouchable. And it's about the months I spent learning that sometimes you have to fight back. However, you must do it the right way. Even when every part of you wants to burn it all down. So, let me take you back to where this started. It was a Tuesday night. I remember because I was doing laundry. Boring, right? Had some reality TV on in the background, glass of wine, just existing. Normal night, and then my phone rang. 11:47 p.m. Maya's name on the screen. I picked up immediately because Maya doesn't call that late unless something's wrong, and I knew. Andrea? Her voice was so small, like she was trying to disappear into it. Maya? What's wrong? What happened? And then I heard it, that sound of someone who's been crying so hard they can barely breathe. He won't stop, she said. Andrea, he won't stop. Okay, so, context. Maya and I have been best friends since college. We were roommates junior year, stayed up way too late studying, drank too much cheap wine, you know how it is. I've known her for, God, almost 10 years now. And 2 years ago, she met this guy Ravi at a wedding. Mutual friend's wedding. He was charming, good-looking, came from this big connected family. She fell hard. Like really hard. Moved to his city for him. Different state. Left her job. Started over for this guy. And I watched her. I don't know how to describe it, except she started getting smaller. Like literally, she lost weight, stopped posting on social media, stopped calling as much. When we did talk, she was always kind of muted, you know? 6 months ago, she finally left him, moved back home, and I thought, okay, that's it. It's over. She can heal now. I was so wrong. What did he do? I asked her. I was already grabbing my keys, already heading for the door. 37 calls today. 37, Andrea, all from different numbers. I blocked one, and then another number would call, and another, and another. My stomach just dropped. He left voicemails, she continued, her voice cracking. Saying things, sexual things, like describing what he wanted to do to me, how I belonged to him, how I was making a mistake. She started crying harder. And then he posted on Instagram a photo of my apartment building, just the building, no caption, nothing, just posted it on his story. I was already in my car. I'm coming over. I'm coming right now. No, Andrea, it's so late. I'm already driving. 22 minutes. That's how long it took me to get to her place. It was raining. I remember that. The kind of rain that makes everything look blurry and wrong. Every red light felt like it lasted forever. And I kept thinking, this isn't just a bad breakup. This is something else. Something that could get worse. Much worse. When I got to her apartment, she's got this little one-bedroom in an older building, you know, the converted brownstone type. I found her sitting on her bathroom floor. Just sitting there, still dressed. Phone in her hand. Hey, I said softly, sliding down to sit next to her on the cold tile. I'm here now. And she just collapsed into me, started sobbing. Not that pretty movie crying. This was the kind of crying that hurts to witness, where someone's whole body shakes and you can feel their fear like it's a physical thing. I held her. Didn't say anything for a while. Just held her. And I started noticing things I'd been trying not to see for weeks. How thin she'd gotten. The dark circles under her eyes that makeup couldn't quite hide. The way her hands trembled even when she was trying to hold them still. When she finally stopped crying, I said, "Tell me everything, from the beginning." So she did. We sat on that bathroom floor for over an hour, while Maya showed me her phone. Message after message after message. Call after call after call. And here's the thing. Ravi's pattern was so clear once you saw it all laid out. He'd call from a number Maya hadn't blocked yet. When she blocked it, he'd switch to another number. When she blocked that one, another number. Like he had an unlimited supply. The messages, they oscillated. That's the word for it. Between, "I love you, baby. Please come back. I can change. Just talk to me." And then suddenly, "You're nothing without me. You'll regret this. You think you can just walk away from me?" Back and forth. Back and forth. "It started the week after I left," Maya explained. Her voice was hoarse from crying. "At first it was just texts, a lot of texts. Then the calls started. Then he started showing up places." "What places?" "My office, the coffee shop I go to every morning. You know the one on 7th? Outside this building." She wrapped her arms around herself, trying to make herself smaller. "Last week I was walking home from the grocery store and I saw him. Across the street, just standing there, watching me. And when I looked at him, he smiled. Waved. Like we were old friends who'd just run into each other. I felt something cold settle in my chest. "Did you call the police?" She laughed. Not a real laugh. That bitter sound people make when something's so unfunny it hurts. 3 times, she said. The first time, they said it sounded like a domestic issue. Suggested I file for a restraining order, but didn't really seem to think it was urgent. Second time, they took a report. Said they'd look into it. That was 5 weeks ago. Haven't heard anything since. She paused, swallowed hard. The third time, her voice got quieter. The officer recognized Ravi's last name, asked if I meant Counselor Sharma's son. When I said yes, his whole attitude changed. Suddenly, it was all about not wasting police resources and maybe you're overreacting and how young couples have misunderstandings. Let me tell you what I felt in that moment. It wasn't just anger. Anger is too hot, too immediate. This was something colder, something that settled into my bones and stayed there. "His father is a city councilor?" I asked. Maya nodded. "And his uncle works in the DA's office. Different city, different jurisdiction, but apparently they have connections everywhere." That's what the officer implied. Not in those words, but you know. I could tell. She looked at me then, and I saw something in her eyes that scared me more than the fear. It was resignation. She'd stopped believing anyone was going to help her. "Maya," I said carefully, has he been violent?" "Physically?" "No, not physically, but Andrea..." She pulled up her phone again. Showed me a voicemail from earlier that day. I'm not going to repeat what was on it. But it was explicit. Sexual. Possessive. The kind of thing that makes your skin crawl. "I feel like it's only a matter of time," she whispered. "And nobody will do anything because his family is too connected. Too powerful." I took her hand. It was so cold. "Okay," I said. "Listen to me. We're going to figure this out. We're going to make sure you're safe." "How?" Her voice broke. How do you fight someone who has all the power? I didn't have an answer that night, but I was going to find one. I stayed with Maya until she fell asleep. Took her maybe 2 hours. She kept jerking awake, reaching for her phone, checking to see if he'd called again. When she finally drifted off, I sat on her couch in the dark, just thinking. My phone buzzed. Text from my girlfriend Jen. Everything okay? You left in a hurry. At Maya's. Ravi's situation getting worse. I'll explain tomorrow. Want me to come? No, but thank you. Love you. Love you too. Be safe. I set my phone down and picked up Maya's. She'd left it unlocked, and I know. You shouldn't go through someone's phone. But she'd given me permission to see the messages earlier, and I needed to understand the full scope of this. The most recent call had come in at 11:39 p.m., 8 minutes before she called me. I opened her call log. 43 calls that day. 43. All from different numbers. Some were from his area code, the city where he lived, about 3 hours away. But some were local numbers. Was he here? In town? That thought made my skin crawl. I started taking screenshots, every message, every call log. I created a folder on my phone, dated it, started organizing everything. I didn't know what I was going to do with all this yet. But I knew, from watching too many true crime documentaries, from that one business law class I took in college, I knew documentation was important. If we were going to fight this, we needed evidence. Lots of it. Undeniable, time-stamped, irrefutable evidence. At like 3:47 in the morning, my eyes burning from staring at screens, my back aching from sitting on that couch, I texted my brother Marcus. Marcus is a civil rights lawyer, lives 3 states away, but he's the smartest person I know when it comes to legal stuff. Need advice. Friend being stalked, harassed by ex. Police unhelpful BC abuser's family is politically connected. What are her legal options? He responded faster than I expected. That's my sister, awake at 4 a.m. on a crusade. Call me in the morning. Short answer. Restraining order, harassment complaint, civil suit for IIED. Document everything. Tell your friend I'm sorry. I felt something loosen a little in my chest. Options. We had options. I looked over at Maya's bedroom door. She was finally sleeping. Really sleeping, for the first time in probably weeks. And I made a decision. I wasn't going to let Ravi destroy her. I wasn't going to let his family's connections protect him from consequences. I was going to fight him. But, and this is important, I was going to do it the right way. The legal way. The way that would actually stick and not blow up in our faces. Even if it took months. Even if it was hard. Even if it meant going up against people with more power and money than we had. Because Maya deserved better than a system that failed her. And Ravi deserved to learn that power isn't the same thing as immunity. The next morning, I called Marcus while Maya was in the shower. I sat at her kitchen table with coffee that was going cold because I was too focused to drink it. And I told him everything. Every detail. Every call. Every message. Every time Ravi had shown up where Maya was. Jesus, Marcus said when I finished. Just that. Jesus. Then, okay, first thing, your friend needs a lawyer, like yesterday. There are organizations, domestic violence legal aid programs that handle this stuff. I'll send you some names. He took a breath. Second, she needs to file for an emergency protective order. But here's the thing, Andrea. If the local police are compromised or not taking it seriously, she should file directly through family court. Skip the police department entirely for the filing. She can still report violations to them later, but get the court involved first. I was scribbling notes on a napkin. Third, he continued, She should report his behavior to any professional licensing boards he's connected to. You said he works in finance? Investment something, yeah. Good. Financial industry has compliance requirements. Ethics boards. Harassment and stalking allegations can trigger reviews. It might not seem like much, but it creates pressure. Okay, what else? Report his social media posts to the platforms, all of them. They have abuse policies, they're not perfect, but get his accounts flagged, suspended if possible. Create a record that you reported him. I kept writing. Fifth, and Andrea, this is critical, document everything going forward. I mean everything. Dates, times, screenshots, witnesses if there are any. Build an airtight case. Because if this goes to court, you need to be able to prove a pattern. What about going public? I asked. Like media? Making enough noise that people can't ignore it? Marcus was quiet for a second. That's a double-edged sword. It can create public pressure, yeah. But it can also escalate the situation and traumatize Maya more. I'd save that as a last resort. And only if Maya's on board and you have a safety plan in place. Okay, I can work with this. Andrea, Marcus said. And his voice got gentler. I know you. You're in full protective mode right now. But be careful. Don't do anything illegal. Don't hack his accounts. Don't follow him around. Don't make threats. Don't impersonate people to get information. Everything has to be above board, or it'll backfire and hurt Maya's case. I know. Do you? Because I've seen you get creative when you're angry. I smiled, despite everything. I'll be good, promise. Just legal creativity. That's what lawyers are for. Get your friend one. I'm sending you contact info right now. When Maya came out of the shower, I had notes spread all over her kitchen table. Printouts from my conversation with Marcus. A shared document I'd started for tracking incidents. She looked at all of it, wrapped in her bathrobe, hair still dripping. What is all this? This, I said, is how we fight back. No vigilante stuff. No dangerous confrontations. We're going to use every legal tool available until something sticks. She stared at the papers, and for the first time in months, I saw something other than fear in her eyes. Hope. Small, fragile, but there. 3 days later, Maya and I were sitting in this tiny office at the City Women's Legal Collective. You know those offices that smell like old coffee and copy paper? Where the walls are covered with posters about domestic violence hotlines and your rights? It was one of those. Maya's hands were twisting in her lap. I put mine over hers. You've got this, I whispered. The lawyer we were meeting, her name was Diane Chen, turned out to be this woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and an expression that said she'd seen everything and wasn't shocked by anything anymore. I liked her immediately. She listened to Maya's story without interrupting. Just listened, occasionally making notes, her face getting grimmer and grimmer. When Maya finished, Diane set down her pen. Okay, she said. Here's what we're dealing with. Stalking, harassment, intimidation campaign. The political connections are a problem. I'm not going to lie to you about that, but they're not insurmountable. She leaned forward. The fact that he's contacting you from multiple numbers, that he's posting photos of your building, that shows escalation. That actually works in our favor for getting an emergency protective order. Will it stop him? Maya asked. Her voice was so small. Diane's face softened, but her voice stayed firm. A piece of paper doesn't stop anyone. Let's be real about that. But it creates legal consequences for violations. It gives law enforcement clear direction. And it creates a record. She paused. If he violates it, when he violates it, based on his pattern, we can pursue criminal charges. The order will prohibit all contact, calls, texts, emails, social media, showing up where you are, even having someone else contact you on his behalf. What about his family? I asked. Their connections. Diane's smile was thin. That's where we get strategic. We file in family court, not through police channels. We send copies of the order to his employer's compliance department. We report violations to every social media platform he's on. We build a paper trail so extensive that his connections can't make it disappear. And we prepare for him to violate the order, she continued, because men like this always do. Always. They can't help themselves. Over the next 2 hours, my hand cramping from writing notes, Maya's voice getting tired from talking, we put together an affidavit. Every single instance of contact, every threat, every unwanted appearance, every message. By the time we finished, we had 40 pages. 40 pages of documented harassment with appendices full of screenshots and call logs. This is solid, Diane said, reviewing it. Really solid. We'll file tomorrow for an emergency hearing. She looked at Maya. In the meantime, vary your routine. Don't go to the same places at the same times. Park in well-lit areas. If you see him, don't engage. Document it and leave. Can you stay with someone? She can stay with me, I said immediately. Diane nodded. Then she looked at me directly. I'm glad Maya has you. But Andrea? Please don't take matters into your own hands. I've seen too many good cases get completely derailed because a well-meaning friend does something that compromises the legal strategy. I understand, I said. And I did understand. But what I was thinking was, I'll do whatever it takes to keep her safe, as long as it's legal. The protective order hearing was 5 days later. We got to the courthouse at 8 a.m. Both of us dressed conservatively, like we were going to a funeral. Both of us exhausted because Maya had barely slept. Ravi had called 17 times the night before, each call from a different number, each voicemail more explicit than the last. Diane met us outside the courtroom. She looked worried. He's here, she said quietly. With his lawyer. They're going to argue this is mutual contact, that Maya's exaggerating, that this is just a messy breakup. Be prepared. My stomach clenched. Can I come in? You're listed as a witness. So, yes. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Fluorescent lights, institutional, cold. And there he was, Ravi, sitting at the defendant's table with this guy in an expensive suit. His lawyer, obviously. This was the first time I'd actually seen Ravi in person, and I'll be honest, he was good-looking, polished, perfect hair, perfect clothes, perfect smile. The kind of guy who probably charmed everyone he met. When he saw Maya, he smiled at her. This small, intimate smile, like they were sharing a private joke. Maya's hand found mine under the table. She was shaking. The hearing lasted about 90 minutes. Felt like forever. Maya testified first. Her voice was steady. I was so proud of her, walking through everything. The timeline, the calls, the messages, the photos. Diane presented the documentation, page after page after page, and then Ravi testified. You want to know what gaslighting looks like in real time? This was it. Your Honor, he said, all earnest, all concerned. I loved Maya. I still love her. Yes, I've reached out to try to work things out. But calling that stalking? That's extreme. He looked at the judge. She's hurt. I understand that. Breakups are hard. But she's also been sending mixed signals? Diane interrupted. What mixed signals? She hasn't blocked all my numbers. Sometimes she doesn't answer, but she doesn't always block them either. To me, that suggests she wants to keep some connection open. I wanted to scream. "And the photo of her apartment building?" Diane asked, her voice sharp. "I posted a sunset from a public street. I didn't know she'd interpret it as threatening." The judge, this middle-aged woman who looked like she'd heard every excuse in the book, looked unimpressed. "Mr. Sharma," she said, "according to these records, you've called Ms. Kapoor 163 times in 6 weeks? From 30 different phone numbers? How do you explain that?" Ravi shifted. For the first time, his composure cracked a little. "I was trying to reach her, Your Honor, to apologize, to get closure. Closure doesn't require 163 phone calls. I've been in therapy for attachment issues. I acknowledge I've been excessive, but stalking is a strong word. I would never hurt her." The judge studied the documentation for what felt like forever. Then she looked at Maya. "Ms. Kapoor, I'm granting the emergency protective order. Mr. Sharma is prohibited from contacting you in any way: phone, text, email, social media, or in person. He must stay at least 500 feet from your residence and workplace. This order is effective immediately." She turned to Ravi. "Mr. Sharma, do you understand these terms?" "Yes, Your Honor." His voice was tight now. The charm was gone. "Violation of this order is a criminal offense. Do you understand?" "Yes, Your Honor." We walked out of the courthouse into bright sunlight. Maya was crying, but this time it was relief. "It's over," she whispered. "It's actually over." I wanted to believe that. I really, really wanted to believe that. But I'd seen Ravi's face as we left the courtroom, and I knew this wasn't over at all. 7 hours. That's how long the protective order lasted before Ravi violated it. 7 hours. Maya got a call from a blocked number. She didn't answer. We'd agreed she wouldn't answer any calls from numbers she didn't recognize. But he left a voicemail. Just one sentence. "You really think a piece of paper is going to stop me?" That was it. That was all he said. But it was enough. We reported it immediately. Diane filed an emergency motion. The police, finally, took a report. But Ravi's lawyer argued the call came from an unknown number. There was no proof it was actually him, despite Maya recognizing his voice. The judge issued a warning. A warning. Not an arrest. Not a violation finding. A warning. I watched Maya's hope just crumble. Watched her realize that even with a court order, even with documentation, Ravi could still reach her. That night, sitting in my apartment with Jen, I said something I'd been thinking for weeks. What if we went public? Like really public? Put pressure on his family, his employer? Make it too costly for him to keep doing this. Jen looked at me carefully. She knows me too well. "That could backfire," she said. "It could escalate him, and it would put Maya through even more trauma. Having her story out there. Dealing with public scrutiny. So we just let him keep doing this? No, we keep using the system. We report every single violation. We build the pattern until it's undeniable. That could take months. Probably." "But Andrea," Jen said, taking my hand, "you can't let your anger make you reckless. That's what he wants. He wants you to do something stupid. Something that gives him ammunition to play victim." She was right. I knew she was right. But God, I wanted him to hurt. Not physically. I'm not that person. But I wanted him to feel even a fraction of the fear Maya felt every day. I wanted consequences. Real ones. 2 weeks after the protective order violation, I got a message on LinkedIn from someone I didn't know, a woman named Priya Menon. Her message was short. "Hi, Andrea. I saw on Maya's profile that you two are close. I'm so sorry for reaching out like this, but I think I can help. Can we talk? We met the next day at a coffee shop across town, somewhere neither of us usually went. Priya was nervous, kept looking at the door, fidgeting with her cup. I dated Ravi, she said finally, just like that. 3 years ago, for about 8 months. My heart started racing. When I tried to break up with him, she stopped, swallowed. He did the same things, exactly the same things he's doing to Maya. Different city, but the same pattern. Did you report it? She laughed bitterly. I tried. His family's connections reached pretty far, though. Nothing happened. Eventually, I moved. Different state entirely. It was the only way to make it stop. I only found out about Maya because a mutual friend mentioned she was dealing with a difficult ex. I put it together, and I couldn't watch him do this to someone else. I leaned forward. Would you be willing to give a statement for Maya's case? Priya was quiet for a long time. I'm scared, she said finally. He's capable of really destroying someone's life if he decides to. But, yes, I'll give a statement. Because maybe if enough of us speak up, someone will finally listen. Over the next week, working with Diane, being so careful, so methodical, we found 2 more women. Shreya, who'd worked with Ravi briefly and quit after he wouldn't stop asking her out despite repeated rejections. Ananya, who'd gone on 3 dates with him before he showed up at her gym, uninvited, and she had to get campus security involved. Each conversation was delicate. These women had been hurt. I was asking them to revisit that pain, to put themselves at risk again. But each one, when they understood what we were trying to do, agreed to help. We were building something bigger now. Not just Maya's case. A pattern. An undeniable pattern. But it still wasn't fast enough. One night, Maya was at therapy. Jen was working late. I found myself alone with my laptop. And I did something I'm not proud of. I looked up Ravi's social media accounts. They were still active. He was posting regularly, living his life like nothing was wrong. Photos at restaurants, work events, parties. The comments were full of people congratulating him, complimenting him, not knowing what he was really like. I thought about making a public post, tagging him, exposing him. This man is stalking and harassing women. Here's the proof. Attach all the screenshots, all the evidence. Let the internet do what it does. I even drafted it. 3 different versions. My finger hovering over the post button each time. But then I remembered Diane's warnings, Jen's caution, Marcus telling me not to do anything that could backfire. And I remembered Maya's voice. How do you fight someone who has all the power? Not like this. Not by being reckless and giving Ravi ammunition to claim he was the victim of a harassment campaign. I deleted the draft, closed my laptop, sat there in the dark for a long time, just breathing. The next morning, I called Diane. What else can we do? I asked. Legally, what haven't we tried? She was quiet for a second, then, actually, I've been working on something. There's a journalist I know, Patricia Reeves. She does investigative work on gender violence and institutional failures. I mentioned Maya's case. Very generally, no details. She's interested, but it would mean Maya going public. Tell me more. We met Patricia at a library. Quiet corner, away from everyone. Patricia was direct. No nonsense. I respected that. If we do this story, she said, looking at Maya, it has to be absolutely airtight. Multiple sources, documentation, legal review, everything verified. She paused. And Maya, you need to be prepared for blowback. Once your name is out there, you can't take it back. People will question you. Some will support you, some won't. His family will try to discredit you. It's going to be hard. Maya's jaw tightened. What if it stops him? What if other women see it and come forward? What if it finally makes people take this seriously? Those are all possibilities, Patricia said. I won't lie, though. It could also escalate his behavior before it gets better. You'll need a safety plan, support system. You'll need to be strong. Maya looked at me. I looked back at her, and I saw something I hadn't seen in so long: determination. I want to do it, Maya said. I'm tired of being afraid. I'm tired of him having all the power. The next 3 weeks were intense. Patricia interviewed Maya, Priya, Shreya, and Nanya. She obtained public records, the protective order, police reports. She reached out to Ravi and his family for comment. They declined, but their lawyer sent a threatening letter claiming defamation. Patricia's outlet had lawyers review everything. They were so careful, so precise, never overstating anything, never claiming something they couldn't prove with documentation. And then, on a Wednesday morning, the story went live. The headline: Pattern of Harassment. Women accuse connected businessman of stalking, intimidation. I was at Maya's apartment when it published. We sat on her couch, my laptop between us, both of us just staring at the screen. Refreshing obsessively. Within the first hour, it had been shared 200 times. By noon, it was trending locally. By evening, national outlets were picking it up. The comment section was a lot. Some people were incredibly supportive, sharing their own stories, saying they believed us, praising Maya's courage. But others were awful, saying Maya was lying for attention, that she just wanted money, that Ravi's political opponents were behind the whole thing. Some people defended him because they went to school with him, or his family donated to charity, or whatever. But more people were believing us, sharing it, amplifying it, adding their own experiences with men like Ravi. Maya's phone started buzzing. Family, friends, people she hadn't talked to in years, mostly supportive, though her mom called crying, worried about what people would think. I know this is scary, I told Maya, watching the story spread. But you did the right thing. She nodded, but her hands were shaking. What if he comes after me now? What if this makes it worse? Then we call the police. And now, with this much public attention, they can't ignore it. But honestly, I was worried too. Patricia had warned us. Exposure could escalate things before it resolved them. We just had to hope it was worth the risk. Ravi's response came within 48 hours. His lawyer released a statement calling the article a hit piece based on false allegations from disgruntled ex-girlfriends. He claimed he was the real victim, that these women had coordinated to destroy his reputation. His father gave an interview, some local news station, saying his son was being unjustly persecuted, and the family was considering suing the outlet. For a minute, I thought their strategy might work. Powerful families are good at controlling narratives, at making themselves look like victims. But then, more women came forward, 6 more, then 10. Not all of them had dated Ravi, but they all had stories, unwanted advances, aggressive behavior at parties, following them after events, showing up places they were. Each story alone might have been dismissed. Together? Undeniable. And here's where it got interesting. One of the women was the daughter of another city councilor, someone politically opposed to Ravi's father. Suddenly, this wasn't just about Ravi's behavior anymore. It became political. The platforms Maya and the others had reported Ravi's accounts to? They finally took action. His Instagram was suspended, his Facebook restricted. His employer, the investment firm, announced an internal review. And the police? Finally, they opened a formal investigation. Not just of the protective order violations, but all the harassment claims. All of them. An advocate from the Women's Legal Collective was assigned to coordinate with all the victims. Things were actually moving. But here's what nobody tells you about seeking justice. It costs. Maya's name was everywhere. Strangers recognized her at coffee shops. Someone left flowers on her doorstep with a note that said, "Stay strong." Someone else left a different note, "Attention-seeking bitch." She had to take leave from work. The stress was too much. Panic attacks, insomnia, constant anxiety that Ravi would show up. I stayed with her most nights. Jen was understanding, but I could see the strain. I was obsessed with Maya's case, checking news constantly, monitoring social media, barely sleeping. "You need to take care of yourself, too," Jen told me one night. "You're burning out." "I can't stop now. We're so close." "Close to what? Maya's safe. The investigation is happening. You've done what you can do." But it didn't feel like enough. I wanted more than bad press and a suspended Instagram. I wanted real consequences. Criminal charges, prison time, his life completely ruined. One night, Maya was asleep, Jen was at her place. I found myself back at my laptop, looking at Ravi's remaining online presence. His LinkedIn was still active, his professional website still up. And I thought about all the things I could do. Legal things, but aggressive. File complaints with every licensing board. Send the articles to every client his firm had. Make sure everyone who Googled his name found the truth. I started making a list. Then I stopped. What was I becoming? Someone so consumed with revenge I couldn't see past it? I called Marcus. "I don't know how to stop," I told him. "Maya's case is moving forward, but I keep wanting to do more, to make sure he really suffers." "That's not justice, Andrea," Marcus said quietly. "That's vengeance, and it'll eat you alive." "But he deserves—" "I'm not saying he doesn't deserve consequences. He absolutely does. But you can't be the one delivering all of them. You have to trust the process now." The process failed Maya for months. And then it didn't. He said, "Because you pushed it. You documented everything. You found other victims. You made enough noise that someone had to listen. You did your job. Now let the system do its job." I knew he was right. But letting go was one of the hardest things I've ever done. The hearing for the permanent protective order happened 6 months after Patricia's article published. And by then, everything had changed. Ravi's employer had fired him. Not for the harassment directly, corporate lawyers are too smart for that, but for conduct unbecoming and violating ethics policies. His father lost his re-election campaign. The opposition had made Ravi's behavior a campaign issue, framed it as evidence of the family's abuse of power, their belief that rules didn't apply to them. The police investigation resulted in multiple charges: stalking, harassment, violation of a protective order, and, this was a big one, unauthorized disclosure of intimate images. They'd found evidence he'd shared private photos Maya sent him during their relationship. 4 other women filed their own protective orders. The pattern was undeniable now, impossible to ignore. At the hearing, Ravi looked different, thinner, older. The confidence I'd seen 6 months ago in that first courtroom? Gone. The judge granted the permanent protective order. 10 years. She also required him to complete a batterer intervention program and undergo mental health evaluation. When we walked out of the courthouse, Patricia was waiting. "Follow-up interview?" she asked. "How do you feel?" Maya thought for a moment. "Safe," she said. "For the first time in over a year, I feel safe. Not happy, there's still a lot to process, but safe." Patricia turned to me. "And you, Andrea? You were pretty instrumental in making this happen." I shook my head. It wasn't me. It was Maya finding the courage to come forward, Priya and the others speaking up, Diane fighting in court. I just connected some dots. Patricia smiled. "You did more than that. You refused to let the system ignore this. That matters." And you know what? She was right. It did matter. It's been a year now since that Tuesday night. 11:47 p.m., Maya calling me, crying. She's doing better. Not perfect. Trauma doesn't heal on some neat timeline. But better. She's back at work, seeing a therapist twice a week. She joined a support group for survivors. She's even started dating again, though she's careful. More cautious than she used to be. Sometimes I hate that Ravi took that from her. That ease, that openness she used to have. But she's rebuilding, day by day. We don't talk about Ravi anymore unless she brings it up. He served 6 months in jail for the protective order violations. When he got out, he was on probation. Had to wear an ankle monitor. Check in weekly. His life as he knew it? Over. Not because I destroyed it, but because he destroyed it himself with his choices. And finally, those choices caught up with him. I've thought a lot about what I learned during those months, about the difference between justice and revenge, about how the system can fail and still be the path forward, the right path. I thought about going rogue, taking matters into my own hands. Doing things that would have felt satisfying in the moment, but would have undermined everything we built legally. I'm really glad I didn't, because what happened to Ravi wasn't vigilante justice. It was accountability. Slow, frustrating, imperfect accountability, but real, the kind that holds up in court, the kind that protects other women, the kind that can't be dismissed as some personal vendetta. Jen and I are good, better than good, actually. She helped me see when I was getting too deep, too obsessed. Reminded me I couldn't save Maya by destroying myself. Marcus sent me a card when it was all over. Just one line. "Proud of you for doing it the right way." And I am too. Not in some triumphant way, but proud that when I had opportunities to take shortcuts, to cross lines, to let my anger make me reckless, I didn't. Because here's what I learned. Systems are made of people. When people refuse to accept injustice, refuse to let powerful people act with impunity, refuse to stay silent, systems can change. It's slow. It's hard. It requires documentation, persistence, and this almost irrational belief that truth matters. But it works. Maya is safe. Ravi is accountable. The other women who came forward have seen that speaking up can matter. That's not revenge. That's justice, and it's better. Okay, so, if you're listening to this because you or someone you love is experiencing harassment, stalking, intimate partner violence, I need you to hear this. You're not alone, and there are people who can help. Start with documentation. I know it's hard. I know looking at those messages hurts. But keep records of everything. Screenshots, call logs, emails, incidents with dates and times, witnesses if there are any. This documentation becomes the foundation of any legal action you take. Reach out to local domestic violence organizations. They can connect you with legal aid, safety planning, counseling, support groups. A lot of them offer services regardless of your ability to pay. Consider filing for a protective order. The process is different depending on where you live, but many courts have advocates who can help you navigate it. And listen, don't be discouraged if the first attempt doesn't work. Persistence matters. Report harassment to the platforms where it's happening. Social media companies and email providers have policies against harassment. Their response isn't always perfect, honestly. But creating a record that you reported it is important. If you're being stalked or harassed, tell people. Your employer, building security, your neighbors. The more people who are aware and watching, the safer you are. Consider talking to a lawyer who specializes in domestic violence or harassment cases. Many offer free consultations or work on sliding scales. And most importantly, your safety comes first. If you feel like you're in immediate danger, call emergency services. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. The system isn't perfect. God knows it failed Maya over and over before it finally worked. But with documentation, persistence, and support, it can work. You deserve to feel safe. You deserve accountability. And you deserve people who will fight alongside you. General resources. And I'm keeping this general, okay? Because every situation is different. National domestic violence hotlines offer 24/7 support and can connect you with local resources. Women's legal collectives or legal aid societies often have specialized programs for harassment and stalking cases. If this is extending into your workplace, HR departments should have protocols for handling it. If you're in school, Title IX offices have obligations to investigate. State Attorney General offices often have victim advocacy programs. You don't have to face this alone, and you don't have to be silent. Some people think stories like mine are about revenge, about taking someone down, evening scores. But that's not what this was. This was about refusing to accept that power means immunity, about believing that truth matters more than connections, about learning that justice isn't something that just happens, it's something you fight for, document by document, report by report, conversation by conversation. Maya didn't want revenge. She wanted her life back. She wanted to walk down the street without looking over her shoulder. She wanted to sleep through the night. She wanted the right to exist without someone claiming ownership of her. And she got that. Not because I'm some hero. I'm not. I'm just someone who loves her friend and refused to watch her be destroyed. We built an airtight case. We found allies. We used every legal tool available. We made enough noise that the system couldn't ignore her anymore. If you're in a similar situation, please know there is a path forward. It's not easy. It's not fast. But it exists. Document everything. Find your advocates. Use the legal system. Report to platforms. Tell your story when and if you're ready. Build your coalition. And remember, you're not trying to destroy someone. You're trying to protect yourself and others. That's not revenge. That's survival. That's accountability. That's justice. The darkness only wins when we let it operate in silence. So shine light. Speak truth. Demand accountability. And if you need someone to sit with you on a bathroom floor at midnight while you cry, find that person. Be that person. Because we get through this together. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helps someone out there who needs to hear that fighting back the right way is possible. Stay safe, stay strong, and never, ever believe that silence is your only option. This is Andrea, and I'll see you in the next one.